it is that's here?
Hello.
Hi. Oh, I guess not. She can't. I guess you can't see.
You can see everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Good to see you. I'm going to sing a little bit as I normally do, and I'm going to mute folks for now. Here we go. Okay, so this melody I want to start us off with begins like this. I lie, 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 lie. Let's try that. I lie, I lie, lie, lie. Next piece. I lie, I lie, 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 lie. Try that. Hi, I lie, 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 lie. And I'll put all that together. Hi, nine, 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 nine. Hi, yi, di, 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 di. Okay, the next part of the melody is the same thing, but at the end it just goes, I, di, 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 di. So we'll just have a different ending that comes down at the end. Okay, so you can just jump in when you feel you can. I lie, I die, die, I. Hi, I, hi, nine, 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 nine. Hi, I, nine, 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 nine. Hi, da, 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 ya, da, da, ya, ya, da, da. Hi, ya, la, la, ya, ya. Hi, lie, nine, 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 nine. Hi, ya, ya, lie, lie, ya, ya. Hi, da, 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 ya, da, da, ya, ya. Hi, ya, lie, lie, ya, ya. Ha, da, da, hi, nine, 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 nine. Hi, ya, la, la, ya, ya. Hi, la, ya, da, da, ya, 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 ya. Hey, hey, hi, nine, 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 nine. Ha, da, da, ya, ya. Hi, ya, nine, 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 nine. Hi, ay, ay, nine, nine, nine. Amen. Greetings, greetings. So tonight we're looking at the 9th letter of the alphabet, letter Tet. And I sent you a little piece of text from Pirkei Avot, and I'm wondering if anybody has that text and can read it for the rest of us out loud. All right, I see Pamela Elisheva. Can you unmute yourself and do that?
Okay, let's try it. All right.
There you go, great.
Yehoshua ben Parakia says, make for yourself a teacher, acquire for yourself a friend, and judge every person toward the pan of merit.
Nice, thank you. So I chose this one because the obvious reason is the last one, where it's saying to judge every person toward the pan of merit. But really, all of those 3 levels relate to the meaning of the letter Tet, which is in a lot of the writings about Tet, it's associated with the word Tov, which means good. And the goodness sort of a dynamic, there's a dynamic between being able to see the good in things. And of course, we don't mean visually seeing necessarily. There's so much information that's constantly coming at us. And to be able to, well, first of all, to notice where our mind tends to focus. Where do we, what do our minds tend to hone in on in order to take note of? And for many people, kind of going towards the critical or the negative is sort of the first way that we tend to relate to things when there's things that are obvious to be critical of. And it takes a certain kind of training not to, not to ignore that or to whitewash things, but to be grounded in the perception and acknowledgement of goodness kind of as a first move. And it's such a powerful practice, something very, very transformative about doing that, even in situations where you have to acknowledge and be critical of things that need to be changed or criticized and so on, to be able to first of all acknowledge in a real way, not just in a kind of strategic way, but really in our hearts, to be aware of goodness and appreciative of goodness. And so this aphorism that comes from Yehoshua ben Parachia is, like many of these Pirkei Avot aphorisms, giving this little life guidance. And his three things that he chooses to tell as the most important things for life are, first of all, Kenei lecha chaver, acquire for yourself a friend. And really, of course, friends are wonderful, but what in the context of Pirkei Avot, what this is talking about is particularly to make sure that you have at least one person that you can relate to about your spiritual life and really talk about the depth of what's going on with you in a deep way. So that's, the having a chevruta, it can often be things that can happen with a friend in that way are surprisingly transformative. And then, of course, the first one was actually Aseh lecha rav, make for yourself a teacher. Now, why does it say make for yourself a teacher, but acquire for yourself a friend? Two different words. Well, one reason, the way that I tend to see this, is that a person can perform the function of being a teacher for you only and primarily because you have the attitude of seeing that person as a teacher. There's a wonderful old Indian story about a person who's a woman who brings milk to the ashram every day. And one day she's late bringing milk to the ashram, and the guru asks her, what's up? Why were you so late? She said, well, because the stream was overflowing. It took me a while to get across there. And the next day she was late again. So the guru says, well, if the stream, if it's overflowing, then why don't you just, why don't you just walk on water? And he was just kind of joking about it. But when she gets back to the stream, she thinks about the guru and chants his name and is able to miraculously walk on the water. And the next day she comes perfectly on time, and the guru says, oh, wow, so were you able to walk on the water? She says, yes, of course. And he thinks she's joking at first, but eventually he realizes, no, she has conviction. She really could do this. So he goes down with her and sees her do it. And he's, of course, completely shocked because he didn't really expect that she'd be able to do it. And he said, how do you do it? She says, I'm just chanting your name in my mind and in my heart. And so he tries to chant his own name and goes, and of course he just sinks right to the bottom. Because the idea of this story, and there's many stories like this, is that when we acquire a devotional heart, then we can derive tremendous benefit because the person who's being the teacher is really a channel for a certain type of potential, and that potential is within us. But in order for us to access that, it's often helpful to be able to relate to it through a being that's outside of ourselves. If it's only within ourselves that we're accessing it, then there's, we tend to, we don't see ourselves as our own teacher so easily. So there's a certain ego transcending potential and a certain potential for accessing depth of wisdom by making for yourself a teacher. And of course, you have to choose wisely, but you see the person as someone that you can that can be a channel for you. But the last one, seeing every person, judging every person towards the pan of merit. I want to mention a story about Reb Zusha, the Hasidic master Reb Zusha, who was known for seeing everybody in this way, for seeing the good in everyone. And the story goes that he, kind of like the seer of Lublin, had this special power of really being able to see into the soul of every person. And that was actually a real curse, because he would see everything about the person. He would see all of their flaws and so on. And so one time he was with his master, the Maggid of Mezrish, and a man came in, a businessman, and he came in wanting to get a blessing from the Maggid. And he just kind of came in and said, "Oh, I have this venture, and can you please give me a blessing for success?" And Reb Zusha could see that this guy was not really a nice guy at all. He had done all kinds of horrible things, and so he couldn't contain himself, and he just bursts out in anger at this man who had such chutzpah to come and beg the Maggid for a blessing without any sense of remorse or repentance, without kind of acknowledging the spiritual work that he needed to do and the true function of the Rebbe and so on. So he said, "How could you do that? How could you come in here and have such chutzpah to ask for a blessing in your business venture when you have so much to repair really in yourself?" And so the man kind of looked shocked, and he was very embarrassed, and he went away. And Reb Zusha felt terrible almost immediately and really regretted what he had said, and he didn't know what to do. And so the story goes, the Maggid put his hands on his head and said, "I give you a blessing that from now on you should really see only the good in people." And from then on, not only did he see only the good in people, but because the Maggid could not take away his special perception that he would still see all of the flaws in the other person, but instead of blaming it on the person, he would blame himself for it. And the Reb Yisrael of Rishon, who told this story, would say that if everybody were like that, then evil would have been completely destroyed long ago, and perfection would have been achieved. In other words, saying that because we tend to do exactly the opposite and project blame on others for things, that's the main barrier. Of course, blaming ourselves for things is not such a wonderful thing either, but you get the point of the story, I think. So another little piece I want to bring in about the letter Tet has to do with the shape of the Tet. And in the Ginsburg book, he points out something from the Zohar about how the shape of the letter Tet is kind of pointing inward within itself. And the hint there is that there are levels of goodness that are not immediately perceptible. And this is also hinted at by the Tet being the number 9 numerologically. And so the 9 is representing 9 months of the gestation of a baby in the womb. And the idea is that the potential for goodness that's either within ourselves or within other people, or even within certain happenings, certain situations, takes time to gestate, and it's not immediately visible. And so again, the practice is making the choice to acknowledge that there is goodness that will come from things. Whatever situation we encounter where we feel inclined to judge as bad or negative, that we keep in mind that there is always this other side of it that may be hidden from perception, but is coming. It's gestating. And this is also related to something that we talked about and practiced with the letter Aleph, but it's a little bit of a different angle on it. So in Aleph, we talked about this basic practice of being present with a full spectrum of experience, joy and bitterness, pain and pleasure, love and negativity, whatever it is that's arising in our experience, that we are the openness within which it's all being experienced. And so therefore, we become the unity between those opposites. And the pictorial representation of the Aleph is showing the Vav in the middle with the upper waters and the lower waters representing that polarity. So Tet is also that. It's the unity between heaven and earth, the unity between opposites, but it's also pointing to another dimension of it, which is that that our consciousness that is able to perceive the full spectrum of experience is itself a kind of tov, a kind of good that transcends the normal polarity of good and bad. So in our experience, we're always experiencing polarity, pleasure and pain, good and bad, but the consciousness itself, to the degree that we can identify with that openness, that consciousness doesn't really have an opposite to it. We can be unconscious of it, not aware of it, but as long as it's there, it's inherently a good thing, and that this basic kind of goodness is the goodness that's hinted at in the very beginning of the Torah in Bereshit, where light is created. And this is the first statement of the word tov in the Torah. It says that the divine says, Yehi or vayehi or, and vayar Elohim et ha'or ki tov, that the divine sees the light and that it is good. And this is basically the light of consciousness. It's inherent goodness. And one more little thing I want to mention, which I hope is can be a practical help to all of us, is that we talk a lot about the goodness that's inherent on the level of consciousness. But of course, a whole other dimension of Judaism as a path has to do with doing particular things in a way that's really kind of committed and programmed. In other words, the mitzvot, doing particular mitzvot, and also doing particular prayers and blessings at certain times of day associated with eating, associated with getting up in the morning. There's morning prayer, there's afternoon prayer, there's evening prayers. And it's interesting, the Tanya reading that happened yesterday. There's in Chabad Hasidism, there's a traditional cycle of reading sections from the Tanya, which is their main text. And I usually plug into that. So I was looking at it yesterday, and the particular Tanya reading of yesterday was talking about this notion that when we put on clothing, it's very obvious to us that the clothing that we wear is not as important as the body that's wearing it, right? The person is the important thing. The clothing is just a covering. It might be nice or we might like it, but it's obviously of a completely different level of value and importance. But when it comes to what are called the garments of the soul, and that means the spiritual practices of learning, which is what we're doing right now, studying, learning Torah, doing particular mitzvot practices. Those practices are seen as garments of the soul, but they're fundamentally different from clothing garments on the body, in the sense that they have the potential to kind of bring forth the inherent goodness that's potential within our beings that we may not otherwise be conscious of. And so, in other words, as we go through our day, we have all kinds of experiences that elicit all kinds of different senses of our own being. You know, how in touch are we with our own inherent divine goodness? We can connect with it during meditation, but there's also all these other particular practices, the aim of which, for all of them really, is to reveal to ourselves, to bring forth the inherent goodness with our own being. And it's amazing. You may have experienced, I don't know, we just got through the holiday of Hanukkah, for example. And the main mitzvah of Hanukkah is this very simple act of lighting candles. So if you note within yourself your experience of your own being, the moments before you take out the ritual object and you begin lighting it, and when you actually do the lighting, and just have a sense of noticing a shift in your own consciousness, your own sense of the quality of your own being. You may notice a decisive kind of palpable shift in that. And so, the tradition is so rich. There's so much to that, but that's something to, consider, is how to kind of program those mitzvot actions into your life in a way that are regular touchstones for the inherent tov, the inherent goodness of your being, that can be brought forth at regular times throughout the day and throughout the week and throughout the year and so on. Amen. So I want to look at the verse for the letter Tet, which is coming from Psalm 145. Perhaps maybe someone could read the verse in Hebrew. Does anybody feel up to that? I'm looking around for a hand. How about Marty? I see Marty looking down.
I'm trying to find it, actually, Rabbi.
Oh, okay. Okay, very good.
It's part of the Ashrei, right? I mean, it's right. Well, in our prayer book, it is
in the Ashrei. Yep.
Yeah. Hang on a second. I just gotta.
No problem.
Had to get out the siddur here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So unless someone else wanted to do it, I have it here.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So Tov Adonai lakol vrachamav al kol ma'asav.
Good. That's the verse. So can you translate that?
So it says, the Eternal One is good to all, compassionate to all creation.
Okay, good.
That's what the translation.
That's what that translation is. Okay, so just getting a little more microscopic with the words. So it says Tov, which we've been talking about, which is good. Tov, Hashem or Adonai is the divine. La kol means to all. Kol is all. So Tov Adonai la kol, the divine is good to all. The Rachamav means it's rachamim, compassion. Al kol ma'asav is upon all beings. So really, it's we could see it as a statement about God, but we could also see it really as a practice, right? Tov Adonai lakol, that the divine is there's something inherent in everything that is goodness. V'rachamav al kol ma'asav, that we can bring forth in our kavanah and how we relate to things and to other beings, this quality of compassion. because it's always a compassionate thing that we can do, a compassionate act, to see the good in another person that we're relating to. It's a compassionate thing. We talk about this in as the very first step in the integral Jewish meditation practice. When we put hands on the heart and say Lecha, the idea is that we're first of all accepting the fullness of our experience in the moment completely as it is, and giving our attention as an act of love. So this is the same thing, but relating it to particularly to another being that we're face to face with. That first of all, we're giving this quality of rachamim, this quality of compassion. So let's sing it together a little bit. This is the melody we were singing earlier. Its first part will go like this. Yeah, and if you may want to call up the verse. I sent it in the email. So if you can look in the Siddur at the Ashrei, or you can just look in the email that I sent. It also has the English letters transliteration, if that's helpful to you. Okay. All right. So the first part goes like this: Tov Tov Adonai Lako. So let's try that. Tov Tov Adonai Lako. And then the next part is Verachamav al kol ma'asav. Let's try. Verachamav al kol ma'asav. And then Tov Tov Adonai lako. Verachamav al kol ma'asav. And that's the whole thing. So as we chant this a little bit, I want to encourage you to call into your heart this kavanah of it's just a basic, and it's a decision really. It's a basic kind of decision to relate to whatever comes into your field of experience, whether it's thoughts or feelings or whatever's in front of you, to relate to it in the sense of knowing that there's an inherent goodness that's there without having to justify it intellectually. Whatever's going on the intellectual level, that's fine, but on a heart level, acknowledging that there's a basic goodness. And how does that, when you add that kavanah into how you're relating to this moment, how does that shift things? It should shift things in a really sweetening kind of way. As the Hasidic phrase says, you talk about sweetening the root, which I take to mean sweetening. By root, it means that what's the root of our relationship with our present moment experience. There's all kinds of branches going on, all kinds of stuff going on, but at the very root, what's our fundamental attitude toward it? This is one of positivity and love. Tov Adonai l'kol. Okay, so you can bring that kavanah in as we sing it. Tov. I'm going to actually move my voice down a little bit. I'm a little high. Might be easier for folks also if I bring it down. Tov, Tov Adonai lako, verachamav al kol ma'asav. 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 Tov, Tov Adonai lako, verachamav al kol I'd like to go through with you the practice as we're doing it so far, using the letters up to the letter Tet. So coming into a good position for you for meditation. And bringing attention to the top of your head. If it's helpful to use your right hand to touch either your forehead or the top of your head, and imagining a light streaming down into your crown. And I'm going to chant the words, and I think what I'd like to do is I'll chant each phrase and then I'll chant it again. So rather than trying to keep up with me, you'll hear me do it, and then we'll do it together. So chanting the Hebrew phrase as we imagine the light streaming through the top of the head, which means one spirit of the living divine. Achat Ruach Elohim Chaim. Do it together. Achat Ruach Elohim Chaim. And imagining the form of the letter Aleph above your head, bringing into your heart the kavanah of opening to the full spectrum of experience, knowing that you can do this, that at your root you are like the Aleph, the oneness behind the experience, and expressing gratitude for this fundamental blessing of oneness that you are, chanting Aro Mimcha Elohai HaMelech V'avarcha Shimcha Leolam Va'ed. All together. Aro Mimcha Elohai HaMelech V'avarcha Shimcha Leolam Va'ed. And now bringing your hand downward from your head to your belly. Just down to your abdomen. And imagining the light streaming forth through the top of your head, down through your body, and down into the earth. And chanting the words that mean two, spirit from spirit. Shtayim ruach meruach, and together. Shtayim ruach meruach. And still seeing the form of the Aleph above your head and the light of the Aleph streaming through your body and forming into the letter Bet below your feet, down in the earth. Bringing to mind the kavanah of Bet, that our bodies are temples for consciousness, that our awareness is comfortable and at home in our own bodies, filling our legs, filling our arms, filling our torso, our belly, our chest, our heart, resting on the flow of our breathing, glowing in our faces, enlivening our brain and nervous system. And receiving the blessing of embodied awareness with the Bet verse. Bechol yom avachecha v'halala shimcha leolam va'ed. Together. Bechol yom avachecha v'halala shimcha leolam va'ed. And now raising your right hand with your palm up and invoking the image of water at your right, Perhaps the crashing waves of the ocean, the movement of water at your right hand, and chanting the words which mean 3, water from spirit. Shtai, I'm sorry. Shalosh. Shalosh mayim meruach. And together. Shalosh mayim meruach. And invoking the form at your right of the Gimel. And bringing to mind that every perception of our senses, of emotions, of thoughts, that they're all embodiments of the mystery of being, that there's behind all concepts is this profound, open, incomprehensible mystery of existence itself, the greatness of being. And that we are also an embodiment of that greatness, as is everything. And the Gimel verse, Gadol Adonai Umuhula Me'od, V'li Gedulato Ein Chaker. Together. Gadol Adonai Umuhula Me'od, V'li Gedulato Ein Chaker. And now bringing also your left hand palm up. And seeing at your left the image or the feeling of fire, of light and of heat. And chanting the words for Eish Me'mayim, fire from water. Arba Eish Me'mayim, chanting together. Arba Eish Me'mayim. And now seeing the letter Dalet at your left, bringing to mind the quality of openness, that everything we have, everything that we are is received from us in a chain through the generations, door to door. And that we are as an open door, the blessing of existence coming through that doorway. End of verse. Dor ledor yeshabach ma'asecha ugevurotecha yagidu. Chanting together. Dor ledor yeshabach ma'asecha ugevurotecha yagidu. You can bring both of your hands to cup the right and left side of your brain, just to kind of help to bring awareness there, integrating these two sides. And now bringing your hands together, palms together in front of your mouth. This is the sphere of dot, of knowledge, of coming together between the realm of mind and the realm of body. And now bringing right hand to your heart, right hand representing chesed, loving kindness. And we begin the chanting of the permutations of the divine name. So as you bring energy bring awareness into your heart, we're going to chant 5 and the permutation. Chamesh Yahweh. And as we chant that together, also seeing the Yah, the Yud in your head, the He in your chest, and the Wa, the Vav, as your spine extending into your belly. And we chant together. Chamesh Yahweh. And seeing the form of the letter Hey in your chest, bringing to mind the kavanah of the full power that we have inherent in our consciousness to completely surrender to that which is beyond our control and to simply be the breathing with reality as it is and as it appears. And the Hey verse, Hadar kevod hodecha v'divrei niflotecha asicha. Together. Hadar kevod hodecha v'divrei niflotecha asicha. And now bringing your left hand to your belly, just as we do in the more simple meditation practice. And seeing the letter Vav as your spine extending down into your belly, chanting the number 6. Shesh Yahweh. Together. Shesh Yahweh. And bringing to mind the letter Vav, the meaning of always including whatever new appears in your experience in reality, including it in the divine name, always saying yes and to what appears. And the strength of that in the verse, the Vav verse. Ve'ezuz noratecha yomeru Ugadulatecha asaparena. Chanting together. Ve'ezuz noratecha yomeru Ugadulatecha asaparena. And bringing your right hand palm up to your right thigh. And chanting number 7. Sheva Hayawa. Chanting together. Sheva Hayawa. And visualizing the letter Zion at your right leg, the sword that cuts away all grasping, all clinging to things being a certain way, whether it's negative or positive, but just cutting away any of that emotional clinging to needing to control anything. That's the cutting away of the Zion, so that we can fully know ourselves as open space. And the Zion verse, Zecher Rav Tuvecha Yabiu V'tzidchatecha Yeranenu. Chant together. Zecher Rav Tuvecha Yabiu V'tzidchatecha Yeranenu. And bringing left hand to the left thigh. And Shmone 8. Shmone Hawaya. And visualizing the letter Chet at your left thigh. The letter of hovering, like the eagle that hovers, neither pressing against, neither coming down and putting weight, nor fleeing, but staying with, being with, in a sort of a suspended state, neither pushing nor pulling, is the letter Chet. And the Chet verse, Chanun v'rachum Adonai erech apaynu gadol chased. And together, Chanun v'rachum Adonai Erech Apayim Ugedah Chesed. And now bringing your hands, you can bring them together in your lap, bringing awareness into your belly area, your lower organs, and chanting number 9, Tesha Vayaha, together. Tesha Vayaha. And seeing the letter Tet in the center lower part of your body, the inherent goodness. Ivduet Hashem besimcha, living as a type of service with joy. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself, invoking this intention of seeing the good and also doing the good. End of verse. Tov Adonai lakol v'rachamav kol ma'asa. And together. Tov Adonai lakol v'rachamav kol ma'asa. And so just take a moment to stay in this place, bringing to mind all of the letters as points of light. You don't have to necessarily visualize the form of the letter if that's hard, but just bringing it to mind above the head, the Aleph, below the body, the Bet, at your right, the Gimel, at your left, the Dalet, in your heart, the Hey, in your belly, the Vav, at your right leg, the Zayin, at your left leg, the Chet, and now in the center lower part of your body, the letter Tet. And coming to number 10, bringing your hands back to palms together in front of your mouth. And recalling the letter Yud, which is the number 10, in your head area for the final counting of 10. Eser Wa Ha Ya. Let's try it together. Eser Wa Ha Ya. And relaxing the hands. And chanting the Shema in the 6 directions, we repeat the permutations of the divine name, the Yud and the Hey and the Vav, in the head and the chest and the belly. In the same order that we just did, breathing in each of the letters in the permutations with 3 sips of air, and then projecting the word as a beam of light in one of the 6 directions. So breathing in Yud, Hey, and Vav, which is head, chest, and belly in 3 sips. Breathing in Yud, Ya, Ha, Wa, and chanting the Shema, projecting it upward. Shema. Breathing in Ya, Wa, Ha, and Yisrael, projecting downward, right hand facing down. Yisrael. Drawing the first circle, left hand goes down to the front, right hand up to the back, tracing the circle all the way around so that the right hand faces forward, left hand faces back. Breathing in Ha, Ya, Wa, and Adonai to the front. Adonai. And breathing in Ha, Wa, Ya, projecting Eloheinu to the back. Eloheinu. And tracing the second horizontal circle, right hand moves to the right, left hand moves to the left, circles all the way around so that left hand faces right hand faces left, and breathing in Wa, Ha, Ya, projecting Adonai to the right. Adonai. And breathing in Wa, Ha, Ya, projecting Echad to the left. Echad. And as you chant Ah, moving the final circle, left goes up, right goes down, tracing the circle around. So right hand faces right, left hand faces left, and the final Dalet. Gentle leaning in the four directions, connecting the four directions with the up and down, the heaven and the earth. And now with your left hand, bringing in the light from the left with the word Baruch. Baruch. Breathing and bringing light from the right with Shem. Shem. And from behind with Kevod. Kevod. And from the front, Malchuto with the right hand. Malchuto. And from below with the right hand, Leolam. Leolam. From above with the left hand, Va'ed. Va'ed. And chanting Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha. Bechol levavecha. Once again, right hand to the heart, offering awareness with lecha. Lecha. And bringing left hand to your belly, chanting uvechol nafshecha. Uvechol nafshecha. Awareness filling the body once again, and naaseh, breathing in. Naaseh. Bringing right hand to touch your forehead, aware of the vast space, boundless and borderless space of awareness. Uvechol meodecha. Uvechol meodecha. And being the space, v'nishma, deep breath in. V'nishma. Kissing your fingers, relaxing your hands. And just sitting in silence for a few moments, seeing the 6 beams of light. And this is very important, which is to completely let your mind go now, because we were focusing on so many letters and visualizations and movements. And now we completely relax the mind, so there's no more any effort to create any particular experience or focus, but rather just being the open space of awareness, feeling your breathing, feeling your body, neither pushing nor pulling. And we'll sit like this for about 2 minutes. Amen. I wish you all continuing success in this practice. Remembering to take it at the pace that works for you. I hope you've had some time in these past weeks to kind of digest what we've been doing, and that it wasn't too overwhelming to learn the new piece that we did today. But repetition is the way, of course, to digest it. Somehow finding that balance between moving ahead in the learning, but not pushing so much that it becomes overwhelming in terms of the content. And also remembering that this contrast of focusing the mind with special words and visualizations and kavanot contrasts with the simple meditation that you can do after you open it with the practice, and that the depth of relaxed mind is enhanced by intense focus. So that's part of the function and reason why this kind of practice works, is to put the energy into the directing of the mind and then to completely let it go. Kind of like in the same way that if you tense a muscle, you can then more easily feel how to completely relax the muscle, as opposed to if you just relax the muscle. Okay. So I'm just going to mute everybody all at once for a moment. That should unmute. It worked for most people. It didn't work for everybody for some reason. Anyway, just wanted to let us hear each other for a moment and say Erev Tov, good night. Sending you lots of love.
Oh, thank you.
Night.
Thank you.
Thank
We'll
you.
have, if people have comments or questions, don't forget to write it in the Facebook group. I'll see you all soon. Be well.
Well, thank you.
Good.
Great night.
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 Bye.